All right. Well, good morning, my friends. The Texas border standoff continues. Both Governor Greg Abbott and the White House refusing to back down. Now GOP reinforcements are pouring in. Abbott receiving the support of many of his fellow Republican governors, such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, also the governors from Oklahoma, Montana, Georgia, and Utah. Now, some on the left want President Biden to do more. Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro says Biden needs to take control of the Texas National Guard right now. Other Democrats rushing his defense are Congressman Greg Casar and former Congressman and former gubernatorial candidate in Texas, Beto O'Rourke, and invoking the father of the Constitution, James Madison, as Steve said off the top, and Alexander Hamilton. By the way, it's outrageous there's not a statue of him in St. Croix, but I digress. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responding with a scathing statement accusing Biden being a lawless president, saying,
"Isn't it wild, man, watching insane leftists basically foaming at the mouth as they fantasize that Joe Biden himself is going to go down to Texas and get in some sort of authoritarian big government shootout with the Texas state government." I mean, these people, they are truly crazy, man. This is what a lot of them want. I mean, this is what they think is going to happen. We see it here in the chat on this channel, but that is not what's going to happen. If anyone needs a recap, here's where we're at. You know, Texas has razor wire up on its southern border, and it's not for any malicious reason. They're just trying to control in any way they can the illegal immigration that's coming into their state. And the Biden administration, at the very, very same time that they're gaslighting the American people and telling us that they're begging House Republicans to help them close the border, which they're also telling us is not open. But anyway, they're saying that they're begging Republicans to work with them on the border to close the border, while at the very, very same time, they're taking Texas to the Supreme Court to remove razor wire that is basically closing that section of the border. And here's all they're trying to do. The federal government wants to help migrants get into this country instead of helping Texas keep migrants out of this country. And remember this, you know, this razor wire, this is in the middle of nowhere where the left will tell you that no one's crossing anyway. They expect people to believe that the nearly 10 million people that Biden has invited and welcomed into the country so far have all come respectfully and peacefully through ports of entry like everybody else. And however the cartels are making insane billions and billions of dollars of profit, nobody knows. That's a mystery. But it's not related to immigration, according to our government. But anyway, so here's where we're at. The Supreme Court struck that down, giving Biden basically the green light to go in there and cut down this razor wire and turn on the open sign again. But Abbott did something actually pretty smart and completely constitutional. He declared an invasion at the southern border of his state, which the U.S. Constitution gives him and any other governor, by the way, the power to do. And, you know, not only the power really to declare it, but the power to stop it. And now we have leftists basically expecting some sort of armed conflict between a state enforcement bureau and a federal enforcement bureau. And Greg Abbott's basically saying, you don't want this.
Is stepping up and doing it with all that razor wire that you're showing right now.
Mm-hmm. And you've committed to putting up more razor wire, where the U.S. Supreme Court just a few days ago said that the feds are allowed to cut through the wire that you've been watching yourself for a couple years now. And just to go back to your first answer that you mentioned there, this was your statement yesterday. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. So if you lost this week at the U.S. Supreme Court, does this now go back there? And how would you expect to win a second time around?
Sure. One quick point of clarification. Something, Bill, you just said that everybody's saying, and that is that the Supreme Court, you said the Supreme Court said what Texas cannot do. If you look at what the Supreme Court actually issued, they didn't write any type of opinion. All they did was to vacate a Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals order and to send it back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It's two sentences. There was no opinion about anything about razor wire or what Texas is doing or anything like that. But that point aside, regardless of what federal statute may exist, the supremacy clause means that the Constitution itself is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution itself provides Texas with a right of self-defense in this case because the United States has abandoned its responsibility to defend Texas.
So if you can get this case on the merits to the Supreme Court, you could win.
So, Dana, first, now I think maybe we will get it to the Fifth Circuit on its merits,
right,
where I believe we can win. And I do believe that when it gets to the Supreme Court, we can win. I don't know how and why the justices voted the way they did, but there seemed to be 4 justices who indicated at least an appetite to hear the case as is. A fair point is the case that was presented to the United States Supreme Court actually did not have very much of a record upon which an appellate court can actually make a decision. So those who may not have voted in favor of Texas, or those who voted to send it back to the Fifth Circuit, they may have thought in their mind that there's not enough record for them to make a decision. But we don't know that, Dana, and this is very important, again, because there were no sentences or paragraphs or pages of an opinion written by the Supreme Court, so no one knows at all what they were thinking. All we know is they wanted to send it back to the Fifth Circuit.
Governor, I know you were just overseas in India, but I know you paid attention to New Hampshire the other night and what the exit polling told us and the entrance polling and our voter analysis said. Immigration is topic number 1. We saw it in Iowa. We saw it in New Hampshire. So Americans are thinking about this, okay? And I'm curious about sort of the shadow story here that a lot of people don't talk about, and that is what the administration's doing with Mexico. And this has been going on for some time.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's just crazy stuff. You cannot make it up. But this is where we're at, man. We got a federal government that really is in violation of the compact that it has made with its states. A federal government that's ignoring laws. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of laws. While at the same time, they prosecute their political rivals while they keep pounding their chests and saying, no one's above the law. Well, if no one's above the law, I mean, what do they really mean? Do they mean no one's above the laws that Donald Trump is alleged to have broken? That no one's above certain laws? You know, I mean, really, who decides what federal laws are actual laws and which ones are just, I guess, kind of loose recommendations? When you think about it like that, I mean, it truly is amazing stuff. And Abbott explains and really understands things very well. The left will tell us that the Supreme Court ruled against them, and they haven't. You know, they sent it back to the court that it came from to the lower court. And now all the courts are going to have something extra to consider with Abbott's declaration. And we'll see how that plays out. But I can't imagine that it doesn't go straight back to the Supreme Court. But while all the left just fantasizes about civil unrest or whatever. But anyway, that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments. And don't forget, help the channel continue to grow. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. See you in the next one.